Morena, everyone, and welcome to our presentation here today. You should all be viewing Starting Your Data-Driven Journey through FME 2022. So in this presentation, we're going to be touching on FME's journey over the years, and especially looking at some of the new features we have in the FME 2022 release. My name is Mike Oberdries, and I will be your presenter today. I am part of the FME Data Solutions Group with Locus. And as you all know, Locus are the safe software partner and value-added reseller here in New Zealand. So let's get into it. Quite a bit to cover. Okay. So this 73% statistic, it points to the fact that there's a lot of underutilized data out there, often sitting in data silos. Maybe you collected the information yourself, but it's not in a usable format for all the different groups that you need to work with it. Well, FME is here to fix that for you. FME provides a visual, no-code interface that enables you to connect to your raw data wherever it is. Modify it, work with it, clean it up, add value to it by combining it with other information, write it out to other formats, bring it into other systems. All kinds of data, file-based formats, database formats, cloud services, business integration systems, business intelligence systems, 3D and LiDAR BIM data sets, and the ability to leverage any number of web APIs these days. And let's not forget that spatial data now is everywhere. This puts FME in a real sweet spot as being the only platform with this level of support for spatial data. Recognize too that the demand for real-time data is expanding, and this often has a location component. So between each release of FME, the team at Safe Software is working hard to push the boundaries of the FME platform. They do this in a number of different ways by incorporating your ideas and feedback. So if you go to the community.safe.com page, you'll see there's an ideas forum there where you can submit ideas. By anticipating future trends in data integration, by aligning with the latest data integration standards and technologies. So since 2021, FME has been fully OGC compliant, and that's an example of how they align with standards. By tackling new data integration use cases, many of them generated by users, and by lowering the barriers, especially for new users, in the hope of creating a more seamless user environment. Now, while FME has always been recognized as a leader in spatial data integration, it's grown and it's matured into a complete data integration platform. They are now recognized by Gartner in their Magic Quadrant as one of the top 20 global general purpose data integration tools. This is reflected in 13,000 organizations, 190 plus global partners, and over 19,000 users out there. FME Server 2 provides easy ways to trigger, schedule, automate your workflows. It's matured into a full orchestration tool with the introduction in recent years of automations and no-code app development. So what follows is a quick overview, a taster of some of the FME 2022 highlights. First up, faster than ever. Speed is a big deal for us all. We all have a lot of data to process. Safe Software pride themselves that with each new release, things will always get faster. So many transformers have been upgraded. The Schema Scanner and the Clipper are two that we're going to talk about in demos later on in today's session. FME 2022 now has 530 transformers and counting. The Schema Scanner and the Solid Dissolver shown here both have their origins as custom transformers on the FME hub. And you know, given the interest and the demand in them, they've now been ported across to the main product. The Esri reprojector transformer has had a major upgrade this time around. It now supports both vertical and time-dependent coordinate systems. So not just the ability to do coordinate transformations in the XY, we can now do X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, Z, and T. So coordinate transformations typically use a static datum. So if we're talking about New Zealand transverse Mercator, then it's referenced to the NZGD 2000 datum. But in the search for better positional accuracy, there's a move towards what's known as time-based datum, which is sometimes referred to as epochs. So here in New Zealand, LINs run a deformation model, and this allows them to generate NZTM coordinates at different datum epochs. So they're not limited to being time-stamped at the year 2000. Australia now have the Australian Terrestrial Reference Frame 2014, ATRF 2014, and that's also using these datum epochs. And there's a global version of ATRF, which is called ITRF, the International Terrestrial Reference Frame. So for those interested in measuring crustal deformation or doing high precision work, these epoch transformations are especially important. Smarter every year. The platform is more data aware. It's better able to track what is in your data. So FME 2022 now has full UTF encoding everywhere. So previously, versions of FME were aligning to the locale encoding of the operating system, and that's been done away with now. Encoding is now also tracked as a meta value inside the workspace, and it's also logged. These new encoding enhancements mean that we can now share workspaces a lot more easily across operating systems. So, you know, we can author a workspace in Windows and, you know, run it on a Mac or in Linux. In desktop, we have workspace comparison and merging, and we're going to talk about that some more later on. And in server, we have job analytics and something called server app user identity, and we're going to talk about that some more later on as well. Excuse me. So FME 2022 now supports over 450 different formats, and that doesn't count the many data sources that are being accessed via APIs these days. So the ability to be able to connect to any number of systems, services, and platforms. Safe Software are continually expanding and enhancing their formats as they change. So shown here are some of the new formats for 2022. Unfolded, I believe that's owned by Foursquare now. This uses the H3 hex spatial indexing system as used by the folk at Uber. Precisely, they are the people that make MapInfo. They now have their background maps available to us in FME. I believe you still need to apply for an API key, but the API key is free. API support continues to grow, and you know, it's a big part of what we do these days. OGC CSW, reading and writing support in FME 2022. This is the catalog service that allows you to query metadata. And we are going to talk about the CCAN format some more later on. You can see that's listed up there. I should also let you know that SQLite and SpatialLite had a complete rebuild. I think that means that spatial operations will be coming to the inline query transformer sometime soon. The inline query transformer is built on SQLite. I guess the one thing that is missing from this slide is the security enhancements that have been developed for FME 2022. Safe Software has made steady improvements with security, especially in the FME server space. If we think back, they started with user role control and then gave us Windows Active Directory integration. And now we have Azure Active Directory. And the FME 2022 release now introduces SAML 2.0 support. So those familiar with these presentations will know that SAFE like to adopt a new theme for each major new release. This year's release is all about doing things better, faster, and more efficiently. And so SAFE have gone with the race car theme for the FME 2022 release. So with that in mind, I can tell you that FME 2022 is geared up with the latest shop tools and improvements under the hood. Set yourself up for success by giving your team of mechanics, engineers, and strategists the best platform for building your workflows and collaborating with your team. There we go. Good stuff. Okay, for the rest of the presentation, we're going to dive into some FME 2022 demos, and that will step you through some of the new features in a little bit more detail. So first up, the start page. The start page is what you see when you first open FME Workbench. For users familiar with it, you might notice it looks a little different now. So let's jump into FME 2022 and take a look at the new start page. So this new design, it's partly about usability, and it's partly about trying to make things more consistent with FME Server. Okay, we have a few new icons along the top here, and one of them is the ability to be able to open a workspace from an FME template. And then in addition to that, we have the ability to download directly now from FME Server on the start page. The remaining space underneath is dedicated to recently opened workspaces, and we have a full view now where you can see the full file paths and the like. If I float over these file path references to the workspaces, you can see if the workspace has been authored in a 2022 version, you actually get this nice little thumbnail as well, which can trigger your memory as to what's happening in that workspace. We've got the ability now to sort these recently open file paths by type, by name, and by last opened. And we can also do keyword searches for both workspace names and entries in the file path. There's also this new starred option, and that's all. It gives you the ability to keep the workspaces that you're currently working on at the top of the list, if you like. So if you're anything like me, you've probably only got a couple of workspaces on the go at any given time, and having the ability to just be able to keep them front and center is a useful thing. So I'm going to open an FME Workspace template from the start page here. And I'm going to set this thing running in the background. Okay, just a super quick refresher on FME Desktop. This is obviously where you author your workspaces. We have the ability to be able to connect to our data sources through readers, And then we have the ability to be able to daisy chain any number of transformers together to do our data transformations. Let's just have a quick review of the input data sets that are in play as this workspace runs. So what we have here is a CSV file, and it contains road calming devices, or we often refer to them here in New Zealand as speed bumps. So they're represented by the red dots here. The location is Surrey in British Columbia, and this is actually quite close to Safe Software HQ. The black lines are just the road center lines, and the black dots, they are annotation points that sit along the road center lines. The FME workspace ends up, filtering those out because they're of no interest. So the goal of this workspace is to do some proximity analysis and identify where the roads affected by speed bumps exist. So this workspace has completed now. So now that it's run, you might notice some differences in the translation log below. So we've always had the ability with the translation log in recent times to be able to, filter the log by errors, or we can filter by warnings, or we can, just look at general information, and we can even do, keyword searches within the log file. Okay, but if we look here, we now have this this transformer column, and if I just scroll up a bit, what it's showing you is whenever it in a part of the log file is associated with a particular transformer, that transformer gets referenced in the log file. And even better, it's hyperlinked, such that if I click on the transformer name, it jumps to where in the log file that piece of processing is happening. Now, for a simple workspace like this, that might not be hugely beneficial, but if you've got a very, very large workspace, this is going to really help you out in terms of debugging and tracking down where in your workflow on the canvas that these log file notifications are popping up. So it turns out that this workspace was first authored back in 2021. And I understand there's been some changes made to it, and those changes live in a 2022 version. So what we can now do is we can go into File, and there's a new entry here called Compare Workspace. And what I can do is I can open that later version of the workspace. Let's just center these guys up. And essentially, we have one workspace on top of the other. We have the 2021 original workspace at the top, and we have the 2022 edited version below. Now, the differences between these two workspaces are being tracked using this traffic light schema. So effectively, wherever you see greens, then we're talking about ads. Wherever you see oranges, then we're talking about workspace modifications. And wherever you see reds, we're talking about deletes. Okay, and the representation, is happening here on the canvas, but it's also happening in this navigation panel here. And along the top of the workspace comparison panel, I've got the ability to filter. So I can turn things on and off here when I'm looking for my differences. So if I'm not interested in differences in user parameters, then I can turn that off, and they will be excluded from the comparison. If I then jump into the merge toggle, this icon here, what this does is it allows me to select individual differences. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all the ads, and you can see they've been highlighted in the workspaces in the new workspace. And what I can now do, now that they're selected, I can jump down here and I can hit the merge button. And what this is going to do is it's going to take the new additions that have been applied to the 2021 workspace and push them to the 2022 workspace, sorry, and push them to the 2021's workspace. So if I say yes to that, you can see those changes have been propagated across and that everything has been updated. Okay. Similarly, if I come down to the modifications, hit the merge toggle again, this time I might just be interested in updating tester transformers. So I can select one here, hit the shift key, select another one. I can even jump into this little cog here and I can look at, what is the differences between old and new with respect to this tester transformer. And again, I can hit merge, and those changes will propagate across, and everything will update. So this tool works on all workspace versions back to the year 2000. But the tool itself is obviously only FME, only available in FME 2022. Safe Software tells us there's a lot more work to come in this area, and I think you can expect that this work will be the precursor for true version control in FME, and that's something that's been requested by the user community for some time now. So I'm just going to shut that down. Okay, so just quickly to recap, we talked about the new start page, the ability to be able to now open workspace templates and to be able to download directly from FME server. And we talked about the ability to be able to search and sort recently opened workspaces. We also talked about collaborating and sharing workspaces and tracking changes in workspaces. So if you're anything like me, we've all had that workspace that worked, and then some enhancements were made to it, and then suddenly for reasons unknown it fails. Well, we now can easily see what those changes are and get to the heart of why it might be failing. This tool, it's also recognizing the growing need for people to collaborate on workspace development in FME, much like how the programming people can compare code through tools like GitHub. FME users can now visually compare and merge their workspaces. So, no longer do you have to be afraid of passing workspaces backwards and forwards between different users, as you can, now track and merge these changes. And finally, we talked about how the FME logging has changed. Having a log transformer, transformer entries connected to your canvas is going to help you out with both debugging and spotting performance bottlenecks. So collaborating on and sharing workspaces is great, but how do I integrate data faster? Okay. So let's take a look at another workspace. Stand by. So this workspace was actually downloaded from the FME knowledge base, and it's about clipping tin surfaces. Again, I'm gonna set this thing running in the background, and while that's running, let's jump in again and take a look at what the input data sets are. So essentially what we have here is we have a digital elevation model. It's the gray fuzzy thing in the background. And then we have a shapefile which represents a polygon clip, an area that we want to extract clip from the digital elevation model. Now, I don't know if you recall, but clipping surfaces in FME in the past has always been a little labored, a little convoluted. You know, typically what we have to do is we read the data, we drape the clip polygon onto the digital elevation model surface. We grab the tin triangles and we clip them, and then we have to recreate the tin again as a single kind of like standalone mesh. And effectively, this step here is, you know, a whole lot of extra work. And if I do a review of the output of this workspace, you can see that it's giving us the desired effect. We've got part of the digital elevation model, which I'm viewing in 3D mode here, and it's clipped to the extents of our target shapefile. But you know, as we discussed, you know, a lot of this is extra work, and with FME 2022, the clipper has had a major upgrade that will allow us to clip surfaces natively. So rather than, you know, having to extract the triangles, clip them, and then rebuild the surface, we're going to be able to clip against the surface feature natively. In addition to that, the clipper is a whole lot faster than it has been in previous versions. So to illustrate the difference between the old clipper and the new clipper, we have another demo, and I'm just going to jump into that now. Okay, so what's going on here is we have two identical workspaces. The one on the left was authored in FME 2021, and the one on the right was authored in FME 2022. Now, these two workspaces are identical, but if we run the one in FME 2022, then for no extra work, this tester is going to run faster. There's been work done in the back end of FME, and the tester in this version of the workspace is going to run a whole lot faster. There's also a clipper in this FME 2022 workspace, and this clipper will be faster, but only if we upgrade it. So currently, both workspaces are running version 13 of this clipper, and in 2022, I've got the ability to upgrade. And you can see clipper version 13 is what we currently have, and we're going to upgrade to version 14. So I've done that. What we're going to do now is have a race off between these two workspaces. I'm going to hit the version 2021 workspace first, give it a bit of a head start, and I'll then kick off the 2022 workspace. You can see fancy new log files tuning away here, giving all the transformer level you know, hyperlinks as they go. What I'll ask you to do is just keep your eye on the feature counts that are coming out of the clipper here between the two respective workspaces. So what's happening in this workspace? Well, effectively what we have is we have an input data set of Australian water polygons, all right? And then the tester here, it is doing a filter just to extract the lake features, and then our clipper, it is going to grab just the lakes in New South Wales. So we have a clip polygon here representing the administrative extents of New South Wales. So clipper version 13, it's generated 2,670,000 odd features. And on this side, we're still at 401,000 odd features. Just give this a little bit longer to run its course. Okay, so there's the output. We've got clipped lake features in the area of inside the New South Wales administrative district. So this is finished. The version 2022 workspace with the upgraded clipper, it's completed. I'm actually going to stop this one because it's going to take too long to complete. But what I can tell you is the clipper and the upgraded clipper, it's taking around 30 seconds to run, and the same clipper in the 2021 version 13 is going to take around 3 minutes 30 seconds to run. So let's jump back into here. So we know that the version 14 2022 clipper is a whole lot faster. So the first thing we should do is we should upgrade this transformer. Okay. And we also know that the version 14 clipper is going to be able to work with surfaces natively. Okay, so we don't need to build the surfaces entities at the end here. So we can highlight these and get rid of that. This is currently taking triangles as inputs, so I can drop that out, and I'm going to put a tin generator in here. Set up our DEM features into the points and lines. Our clipping boundary can go to the clipper port here, and this time we'll take the tin surface output and we'll pass it to the clipper. Okay. I need to set the surface tolerance here. I'm going to set it to exactly what it was previously, which is 5 meters. And let's set this thing running again now with the revisions made. Okay, this time you can see that it's clipped the surface natively, and if we just do a quick review on that, again, here we have our clipped surface that was which is exactly the same as the long version of the previous workspace, but it's just doing it a whole lot more quicker now. So, you know, that was an example of a performance gain via a transformer upgrade. But FME 2022 also offers many performance gains in the back end, where no upgrades are required. Safe software, you know, they mandate that every new major release, I think I mentioned this before, of FME must be faster than the previous release. And here we have a nice summary then of the sorts of performance gains you can expect to see in FME 2022. So, you know, any transformers that are working with the filtering of features, so, you know, our testers, our attribute filters, our value mappers, these, you can expect these to be 60% faster. Any transformers that are working with string attributes, you can expect these to be 25% faster. Group by transformers. Okay, so these are the, you know, these are the guys that often do all the, you know, the heavy lifting with respect to, you know, spatial related work. You can expect these to be 60% faster. The use using a subset of attributes. So this is the attribute keeper, the attribute remover, the attribute manager, 35% performance gains in that area. Clipping areas, we spoke about that and we demoed it, some big gains there, and some massive gains in the with respect to the tiling transformers. So for you Australians that, you know, want to tile all of Australia, you can do it a whole lot quicker now. So the clipper then, it was just one example of how what we call bulk feature mode is bringing really big performance gains to lots of well-known transformers. So the bulk mode architecture, it was conceived by SAFE about 7 years ago, and its rollout now is just about complete. So if we're looking at you know, for example, a group by transformer, if something is 60% faster, you know, that's more than twice as fast, obviously, right? So if it took 10 minutes before, it's going to take 4 minutes now. The way they can achieve this is rather than passing data a feature at a time through an FME transformer, bulk feature mode allows you to pass up to 100,000 features at a time. And that's, that's how they're achieving these gains. Oh, also, almost forgot, big speed gains to be had for those working with geodatabases as well. So I know that's a lot of us. It particularly relates to raster data set writing, working with versioned SD deletes, and reading aggregate geometries. And what about data quality and security? Well, FME 2022 has a host of new tools for data management and accessibility. One of those tools is the new CCAN connector and the CCAN reader writer. So CCAN is it's an open source portal, and it's designed for centralizing and managing data sets. Lots of different sources, lots of different formats. It's used a lot by public-facing institutions who need to share their data through open data portals with the public and the like. So let's jump into another demo here. So in this scenario, we have a CCAN data store for fleet management. So when I say fleet management, it's about managing the vehicles within the fleet. We can connect to it using the new CCAN reader. And what we want is for individual drivers to be able to contribute their own vehicle data when it changes. And they might do this via a mobile app or a web app or similar. But instead of running a manual process to check that the data being submitted by the drivers is in the correct format, we want to use FME to validate and update the CCAN data store for us. Okay. So up here, grayed out, is the Safe Software CCAN data store. For the purposes of this demo and the fact that I'm in New Zealand, I can't connect to that. So effectively what we've done is we've created an identical CSV file here. And you can see that the schema within the CSV file is exactly the same as the schema in the CCAN data store. And then we have the driver CSV file, which is shown here. And now, ideally, the driver schema should match, right? But we know that's often not the case. And what's happened here is the schema are mismatched. So if I do a visual compare of the schema, I can see that they have last serviced in common and odometer in common, and the number of attributes isn't the same, and the rest of the attributes are different. So this is an example of what we refer to as schema drift. And what we're interested in now is how can we automate the validation and detect the schema drift? Well, we can do it using a new transformer for FME 2022 called the Schema Scanner. So the Schema Scanner allows us to read in each schema from each of the data sources and compare them line by line. So you can see I've got a Schema Scanner connected to the equivalent CCAN data store, and then I've got a Schema Scanner connected to the driver submitted version. Now, if I open these up, lots of parameters here. You can see we've got the ability to suppress certain fields from schema mapping. So if we've got default fields like object ID that might come across in the data, or if we've got format attributes showing, we can suppress them and say exclude them from the schema comparison. Nice feature down here. We've also got the ability to build some compliance around the format of dates. I mean, dates are, we've all had our challenges with dates over the years, and so what the Schema Scanner is going to do is tell us if the date format of any date fields in our data is compliant with whatever we're looking for, and this is configurable obviously to using the normal sorts of notations that we use inside FME. So we're reading the schema of the CCAN data store, and then we're reading the schema of the driver submitted contribution. And then we're just using a feature merger to do a line-by-line comparison and detect where those are different. From that, we can make a determination as to whether we have a bad schema or a good schema. If we have a bad schema, we can divert it, generate a custom HTML message, and send that back to the driver with a request to, please update your schema and submit again. However, if we have a good schema, we can carry that forward, and we can push it back into our CCAN data store as an update against our data. So what I should do now is just demonstrate this in action, I guess. So I'm going to run this one. First up, a bad schema. Runs pretty quick. We talked about having two attributes in common here, and you can see the feature merges picked up two and doesn't like the rest. And so that has been identified as a bad schema for 10 of the 12 attributes, and that will push a notification back to the user. So let's assume that our driver has received that notification, and he's going to make a resubmission. And this is his new submission. And this time here, we can visually see that the two schema align. Let's run that again. We've got 9 attributes in play, and we can see that all 9 of them match. And so that's identified as a good schema, and it goes all the way through to our CCAN data store as update records in our CCAN data store using the new CCAN data writer. But what if a new vehicle gets submitted from the driver? He's not just changing attributes, information about last service or something like that. What happens if he actually wants to submit a whole new vehicle? Well, basically what that requires is we need to differentiate between updates and inserts. And with FME 2022, we now have some new functionality to help us with that. So in here, if I look under feature operation, currently it's set to update, but I can change it to upsert here, okay, which allows us to do updates and accommodate updates and inserts in a single step. Just get okay to that. But obviously, we want this to be a self-serve app, so we want to publish it to FME server, right? So let's proceed with that. This is Safe Software's FME server, so I'm just going to jump out of that. But when I do that, you can notice that the FME server publishing wizard has got some, it looks a little different. It's got some new entries here. And in particular, it's got an entry here under alternative login methods. And if I see this drop-down box here, we've got the usual approach, which would be Windows credentials, but we've also got the ability now to authenticate against FME server using SAML 2.0. So just a quick recap. We talked about connecting to CCAN with the new CCAN connector and the CCAN reader writer. We talked about schema drift and how the Schema Scanner lets us understand exactly what is in our data at runtime. So think about that for a moment. This means that we can now work with our data at the meta level. We can find out what's in those columns and even intercept bad date formats. So it's allowing us to work with the definitions of the data, not just the data itself. And we also spoke about upsert. So now we can do now we can update an existing record, or if it doesn't exist, we can insert it into a database, and we can do it all in one step. So, or alternatively, if there's a conflict with an existing row in a table, we can make an insert and or update. So this is going to greatly simplify things for people working with incremental workflows out there, and I know there's a few of you. Note the new upsert function. It's compatible with lots of different database writers, and some of them are listed here. I believe you can add spatial light and SQLite to that list now as well, and upsert support for additional database formats is coming as well. So this is all about safe software trying to give you a uniform experience when you're interacting with your database writers. And lastly, we talked about SAML 2.0 support for FME Server. So this is all about ensuring that FME Server can leverage all the login and multi-factor authentication methods that an enterprise security environment may have. So if your organization is using SAML, you can now use that with FME Server. And just a reminder, FME Server already supports Windows Active Directory and Azure Active Directory, and something else called generic directory, which I don't know a lot about. But other things to note in this FME Server release, if a user logs into a particular machine or browser, it will automatically log them out everywhere else. So that's a nice feature from a security standpoint. FME now supports something called broadcast messaging, which will allow you to communicate system status to anybody who's logged in. And safe software continue to improve FME's system and in-flight data encryption, and they are now compliant with the ISO information security standard ISO 27001. Finally, I just wanted to cover off some of the new administrative features on the FME Server side. FME Server 2022 now supports something called Server App Identities. So if you jump into your server jobs page now, you can see who is running your app and when it was run. So in the past, you could only really see who created the server app. So this feature is going to allow you to see more information around usage data, track the number of users over time and see usage trends. So let's say we had a bunch of these self-serve users that all decide to run a server app at exactly the same time. Right. Obviously, this is going to create a bit of a traffic jam on FME Server, and depending on how many engines you have on your server, jobs are going to get queued and resources are going to get backed up. So if something like this was to happen now, we have this final and last feature, which is the new FME Server Analytics Dashboard. So one of the challenges with FME Server automation is that the demand on the system can be highly variable over time, right? We have busy times and we have quiet times. Okay? So the analytics dashboard gives you that dynamic chart view of the load on your FME server. Okay, so if you're like Auckland Transport, for example, you have a bunch of tasks that are getting triggered in a variety of ways, and keeping track on them all, when they are starting and when they are finishing, it can be a tricky proposition. But with the analytics dashboard now, you can see where the bottlenecks are and better allocate and or prioritize those server resources. Or perhaps if you are truly under-resourced, this will help you build the business case to procure more FME server engines. So all this helps you maximize the value of your FME server engines. Once you have this information, you can then proceed to create job routing rules using FME server queues and priorities and engine assignment rules to better define where jobs go and when they run. Okay, so just a final summary on everything we've seen today. Lots of exciting changes for FME 2022. We reviewed enhanced collaboration using Workspace Compare and Merge, and we looked at the revamped log files. We've seen things running faster than ever. So with the demo on what the FME 2022 Clipper can do now, and the significant speed boosts we can expect for other group by transformers and the like. We looked at the support for new formats, specifically the CCAN demo that we did. And we talked about new functionality, in particular the Schema Scanner and the new support for vertical and epoch coordinate systems via the Esri reprojector transformer, and the fact that we're UTF-8 encoding everywhere now. And finally, we spoke about workflow efficiencies, tools for better workflows with the introduction of the new upsert feature and keeping track of FME server apps via identities. And finally, I just wanted to cover off a few resources for anyone interested in doing a little bit more discovery. Be sure to check out the recordings of the FME 2022 webinars. You can go to safe.com/webinars for that. We also have Mark Ireland. You may know him as the FME evangelist. He's been running a blog series on new features in FME 2022. And I believe he is here with us on our Thursday FME World Tour session. For anyone new to FME, check out the FME Accelerator courses, courses specifically designed to get new users up and running with the FME platform. They're free. You get to use the actual software in meaningful ways, and typically they're only about 1.5 hours long. Lastly, the FME community. It still remains a great source for topic-specific articles. There's a huge resource sitting there, and make sure you take advantage of it. And that concludes this ride through FME 2022. Thanks for joining us.